Well, President Biden is not mincing words, calling Vladimir Putin a war criminal during a news conference yesterday. He made the comment after Ukraine's president made a passionate speech to Congress, begging for more help. Nancy Cordes is following this for us from the White House.
I think he is a war criminal.
The White House says President Biden was, quote, speaking from the heart about Vladimir Putin's barbaric actions when he made that declaration. It came after weeks of the White House carefully skirting the term war criminal as the State Department investigates. Putin's spokesperson called the comment unacceptable and unforgivable.
The world is united in our support for Ukraine.
Earlier in the day, Mr. Biden announced an additional $800 million worth of military aid going straight from the U.S. to Ukraine. It includes 9,000 shoulder-mounted Javelin missiles, 800 Stinger anti-aircraft systems, and more than 20 million rounds of ammunition. He's also giving Ukraine 7,000 grenade launchers, more guns, and special anti-tank drones known as Switchblades.
I don't know what a Switchblade drone is, but it sounds like it should be going to the Ukraine.
Where they can like him.
But all that still does not fulfill the top requests from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace.
In an emotional appeal to Congress Wednesday, Zelensky begged the U.S. to help impose a no-fly zone over his country.
We're a superpower, and Zelensky challenged us to act like it.
But a no-fly zone is something neither the White House nor most of Congress supports, for fear it would draw U.S. and NATO pilots into the conflict.
I have a dream. These words are known to each of you. Today I can say, I have a need. I need to protect our sky.
As a fallback, Zelensky urged the U.S. to help him secure more MiG-29 fighter jets.
President Biden should allow those MiGs to go to Ukraine today.
Behind the scenes, the U.S. is working to help Zelensky acquire something else he's seeking: long-range S-300 Russian-made surface-to-air missiles. The U.S. doesn't have them, but some Eastern European countries like Bulgaria and Slovakia, too. The vice president actually spoke with the president of Slovakia yesterday, though the White House would not confirm that they discussed those S-300s. And the defense secretary, Lloyd Austin, is in Slovakia today. Vlad, Anne-Marie?
That comment that President Biden made, that Vladimir Putin is a war criminal, in which Putin responded, or at least the spokesperson responded almost immediately after. What are you hearing from the White House? Because it seems that the president hadn't said that up until that point. The reporter was shouting a question at him as he was walking through. And the reason I ask, Nancy, is, as you know, war criminal has a very specific legal meaning. And so to say that, and as the leader of the free world, put it out there on the record, really means something, which is why I'm guessing Putin clapped back.
It really does mean something, Vlad, and this was not an accidental slip by President Biden. In fact, he was asked the question by that reporter initially, and it wasn't clear he had actually heard her. And when she asked whether he thought Putin was a war criminal, he said no initially. Then he doubled back and said, wait a minute, what did you ask me? Did you ask me if he's a war criminal? And she said yes. And then he said, yes, I think he is a war criminal. So this was something that President Biden was clearly ready to say out loud. I think it's something that most people, just looking at the situation in Ukraine, all the children, the women, civilians who have been intentionally targeted, would say, colloquially, of course, that moniker seems to fit. But the U.S. had been avoiding that kind of incendiary language because there is actually a process that has to be followed, a legal process, in order for someone to be designated officially a war criminal. There's an international tribunal. There's a whole State Department investigation that takes place. But President Biden clearly felt moved to just go ahead and state the obvious, which is that there are war crimes taking place in Ukraine.
I want to ask you about something else, Nancy. We're hearing more and more about cases, more COVID cases popping up in China, in Europe. We're hearing about this new Omicron variant, the stealth Omicron variant. The White House has appointed a familiar face as the new COVID-19 response coordinator. What can you tell us?
Right. This was big news this morning. We learned that Jeff Zients, who is the COVID task force coordinator here at the White House, will be stepping down in April. He'll be returning to private life. He was on leave from his job as a CEO at an investment firm. He will be departing, and in his stead, the president is appointing Ashish Jha, Dr. Ashish Jha, who's certainly familiar to viewers at CBS News. He is the dean of the Brown School of Public Health. He led the Harvard Global Health Institute, and he's someone who brings deep medical knowledge to this position. It's kind of an acknowledgement that we've moved into a new phase with the response to this pandemic. Zients was brought in because he had a great deal of experience coordinating large, complicated responses to various challenges. He was an administrator, not necessarily someone with deep medical experience, but he knew how to ramp up a government response to a big problem, and that's what happened. We went from fewer than 1% of Americans being vaccinated when he started to, the 60 to 70% of Americans who are vaccinated now. But that phase is sort of giving way to this new phase where we realize COVID is going to be with the U.S. for a long period of time. And clearly the president is looking to someone with that medical expertise to help advise him moving forward about the best way to protect Americans for the months and possibly years to come.
Nancy, before you go, Ireland's prime minister tested positive for COVID-19 while he was in Washington yesterday after sitting next to Nancy Pelosi at a fundraiser. How is this affecting his trip? And what are you hearing from the speaker's office?
Well, this was pretty dramatic, you guys, actually. He was at a gala last night, a big charity gala. President Biden was there. They interacted briefly, though the White House says they were not close contacts. There's a picture of him sitting with the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi. She went up on stage to introduce him, but clearly was told that he had just tested positive, got a PCR test back showing that he was positive, and he left. So at first she announced that he simply had an urgent meeting that caused him to have to leave. But later the Irish ambassador informed the gathering that he had, in fact, tested positive for COVID. We're told that he's doing well. He's not very sick, but obviously he can't continue with his planned meetings right now, which included a meeting here at the White House with the president today on St. Patrick's Day. And so his aides say that they are working to try to figure out if he can fulfill some of his obligations virtually, perhaps continue to conduct some of these meetings. But obviously, this is not the trip that he hoped for and had in mind, though it's great news that he's doing well and only has minor symptoms at this point.
Terrible timing.
Yes, terrible timing, because it is, as you pointed out, Nancy, St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. You're wearing green.
You're wearing green.
I'm wearing green.
I'm not.
You're not, even though you. My great-grandmother is Irish. Anne-Marie's father.
My grandmother
is Irish, so she's actually closer to her Irish roots than I am. And look at what's going on here.
And I will give you another little nugget.
Okay.
My grandmother's sister founded the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Huntsville, Alabama.
Wow.
I got roots. The other thing is I got green all day long, every day, 365 days a year. So I feel like if I miss today, it's okay.
Anne-Marie, don't feel bad. I actually wore a red blazer this morning on CBS Mornings, and I had this coat with me, but I just had forgotten it was St. Patrick's Day, and then after I realized it, I switched.
Nice.
Okay. Thank you.
May you will have good luck all day long, Nancy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nancy.